or everyone being assholes and trolling everybody. And it seemed to be complete trolling in every direction from everyone. So I wasn't going to dip my hand in the water. And then came Gamergate. I have seen the careful progress of a decade come crashing down, and now when I go to talk about games to industry groups or fellow academics, Gamergate always comes up and is an example of how terrible and immature people who play games are. It will take years and years to repair the damage, and it is absolutely devastating to the serious study and application of the power of games to real problems. We are going to have trouble getting grants, getting foundations to fund games, and getting people to take it seriously. It is devastating and makes me very sad. Okay, so I know I'm just chatting about this. Is academia irrelevant to gaming? So that was an academic. Now, to bring you up to speed on Gamergate, did I tell you I gave you the brief introduction to Gamergate earlier in the year? Okay, I'll give you a brief introduction to Gamergate. Gamergate is got some nasty twists and turns, but it started, depending on who you describe it with a blog post by a ex-boyfriend, just ex-boyfriend, so he'd just broken up with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend was a game developer, and he accused her of sleeping with a game journalist, right? And said that's why the game journalist said nice things about a game, because she slept with him, because he was an angry ex-boyfriend doing, a random angry blog post, as people do. This then kind of spiraled into a questioning of the relationships between developers and the journalists that you see in Kotaku and Gamasutra and on game information websites. And saying, look, these people are close friends, some of them have dated in the past, some of them have been married to each other, it's a small community, and so people form relationships with people with similar interests. And yes, is game journalism slightly corrupt? In the sense of all journalism has issues, then yes, game journalism also has issues. But a whole bunch of gamers did the whole, game journalists, why are you not being objective, and why aren't you reporting your relationships with the people you're reporting on? And then there were about 12 to 15 articles across the majority of gaming websites saying how the gamer identity was dead and irrelevant. The gamer identity being a white male in a basement playing computer games, right? And they said, that's now irrelevant, and they're not relevant to our industry anymore. We make games that are far more diverse and far more interesting, and we shouldn't pander to those nose breathing neck or mouth breathing neckbeards or something. Those insulting gamers. And a whole bunch of the gamers went, oi, wait a minute, I'm a gamer and I'm happy to be a gamer. Stop saying that all gamers are a waste of time and irrelevant. And then it started getting nasty, right? And then basically it got into a whole flame war with Anna Sarkeesian and her female tropes in games, which is, she's got a master's degree, so kind of about what you guys are about to get, and she makes videos about, selectively picking out games as being sexist. I find some of her analysis fine. Some of her analysis is a bit odd because she doesn't draw on other media and go, wait a minute, this happens in all of these media, not just games, right? So she's doing the whole picking apart things. She makes statements like increase in gender bias and such, right, without any evidence to support her claims, right? Because it's a video post, it's not an academic peer-reviewed article. And so people started getting grumpy at her, and then other people started saying that gamers are all kind of racist, sexist, misogynists, And then some of the trolls guys started getting in there and sending death threats to women, and then people started sending threats to people who'd been identified on Gamergate, and you got the IGDA involved in doing a block list where they blocked anybody's Twitter from they had a bot to block tweets so you wouldn't have to see them, and their criteria was if you followed someone who had been threatening, right, on Twitter, which of course then got Jason and a few other academics who had been watching both sides of the debate, because they'd followed the tweets of the people being agitated on this side and the tweets of people being agitated on that side, and were rationally following the debate, and they got blocked because they happened to follow that person and read their tweets, and therefore they're now wrong, right? This is a reactionary, not very kind of forward-thinking academic approach. This is a we're going to protect ourselves. And now everybody's just claiming that everyone else is in echo chambers, right? The echo chamber is where you only talk to people who agree with your opinion, right? And academics have weighed in, and now there's basically a disagreement about what Gamergate is. There are the sometimes describing themselves as third-wave feminists. The derogatory term was social justice warrior, which was meant to refer to people who fight for causes when they are not themselves the subject of the discrimination. Right? So it's like if I go out and say, we must have more women in computer science. Women are being targeted and being pushed out of the industry, and I'm going to stand up for them, and I'm going to help women get into the industry. Right? That would make me a social justice warrior, because I'm a white guy, right? This isn't really my cause to fight.
Black women.
black disabled lesbian women. We need more of them. That's the ultimate social justice warrior criticism, is I would be fighting for the rights of lesbian, black, disabled women in computer science, and saying, yes, stand with me, and I will protect you, and stuff, which has an air of patronization in it as well, right? I mean, is it my job to be the white knight hero kind of person, or is that explicitly encouraging that kind of behavior? And so it goes back and forth, and there are death threats and doxing, which I find interesting, because in Norway we're all doxed by default. So you can find my address and my phone number, and you can work out my salary, and you can work you can work out a lot about me in Norway, right? Whereas in the US, of course, all of that's kept secret, and so if someone shares it, it's a big problem, right? Because it's all about secrecy. Whereas here, you're already exposed. So, but yeah, so there's back and forth, and so a lot of academics have come down on the Gamergate. Anyone who supports it are trolls and are evil and hate women and want gaming to be just about first-person shooters. And the Gamergate people say, no, we try and eradicate anybody who makes a comment that's negative to women. We want transparency in the industry. We want to know who's writing about whom and what relationships they have. So those are the two sides, and they completely disagree on what they mean, right? So everybody who's pro Gamergate says, oh no, we don't have any of those trolls. They are just assholes, and we don't like them. And the others say, well, all you Gamergates and gamers are all the same. You're all a bunch of assholes, and they're not talking to each other. So this article is saying, academics, if you have gone down the route of saying, because this is from someone who thinks there is an issue with journalistic reporting, and he's saying, well, if academics say that a few hundred or a few thousand trolls abusing women is enough to have them give up the entire industry and say the whole industry and all of the gamers in it are irrelevant, then maybe they don't love games as much as they say they love games. And maybe Reddit, becomes the new games academics, where you get critique and discussion and people with time to critique things. And if we are going to remain relevant to games industry and game developers, then do academics need to be more forward and actually get and become part of this debate, right? Because I've stayed out of it. I've not posted anything about it because one of my colleagues, Ernest, he's a game developer, and he basically said, if anybody supports Gamergate, I will no longer talk to them. And he said, the young developers, be careful of Gamergate, because if you want jobs, you won't support it. So basically saying, you know, you say something positive about them, and I'm going to cut you off. It's kind of, oh, ouch. I just won't say anything. But at what point do I need to say so? Do I need to weigh in as an academic, as a game academic, and say, oi, and what should I say? I mean, you guys are all doing the serious games course. This does affect you in the sense that Gamergate, you'll probably come across some people who will say, yeah, aren't you guys all misogynist assholes? Luckily for the women in the room, you can say, not my shield, and say, wait a minute, no, I'm a woman. I get to say whether I'm sexist against women or not. You don't get to tell me that I'm sexist just because, you know, I do some stuff with games. But the men here, yeah, and I am the absolute worst example, right? I am a white middle-class man who's been a gamer most of my life.
Big TV.
I've just bought a big, yeah. I don't have a game console. But, so,
it's coming.
I do have a Wii. A Wii is the only game console I own, so maybe that doesn't make me quite the worst, but yeah. So no, but this Gamergate stuff, it is certainly in America as being a big problem because it's boiled up in this whole gender issues and gender politics and third wave feminism and Alec Baldwin and making comment, and yeah, so it's still quite an issue there. We've avoided it mostly in Europe because we go, crazy Americans. But yeah, it is something you're going to have to deal with, unfortunately. Certainly if you deal with Americans or you discuss things. So yeah, but there's lots of timelines on Gamergate. You can read up about it. It's just strange, I think is my best phrase. Okay, so today we're going to talk gamification. And we have two different perspectives. We have the Detering paper, which is written from a kind of, for me, a very much an academic, traditional kind of social sciences background, and the business-focused gamification is about money, or about business. So, who would like to present first? Which way shall we present this?
Define it first, and then.
I think we'll go with the gamification definition paper, and then we'll discuss the business perspective on it. Okay, so.
We can do that.
Okay. Now, do we? Actually, we should probably put it up on screen if people don't have it in front of them.
Yes, please. I forgot my adapter.
Okay.
And I didn't have anything.
Do you want the cable?
Anyway.
Actually,
We want the projector.
well, what we could do is
Why is it no longer here?
put it up on the screen.
When does that happen?
Because it's plugged in here.
Okay.
Well,
Yep.
the projector is pointing to the wall.
The projector works on the wall.
Yeah,
That's
it's
new.
No, it's been there the whole time.
But it hasn't been pointing to the wall the whole time.
It pointed down at some stage.
That's
Actually-
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Maybe I will use this one and. I either sit over here or I have to sit over here. I'll sit over there. Let's see. Okay, so start with the introduction. I'll put this up.
Sorry. Where should I start?
Start at the very beginning.
There's an abstract at the beginning. Sorry. I think it's very interesting that it's written by 4 people that come from different universities and different countries. I really would like to know how they decided to throw themselves together and write this. They basically,
I could give you some background, but we'll move on.
It's called networking, is it?
It's meeting at a conference and having also worked with. Lenny had worked with Sebastian on a paper before. So you have a couple of people who worked on a paper before. They meet a couple of other people. They sit down together and go, "Hey, we have some similar ideas. We should write that up," and then they do. So yeah, that's how it happens. Conferences, they're great for that sort of thing.
I should go to one. They start with basically stating that there are a lot of more or less similar terms and that there's no clear definition of gamification to be found. Well, have been found then back in 2011. And they start with their proposed definition that I think is really good. That gamification is the use of game design elements in non-game contexts. Which sounds kind of obvious, but it's not that obvious if you read the paper. I don't know what it's. Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention. I looked it up on Google Scholar and it is quoted, I think, about 800 times. Not exactly, but close to.
Yep.
I think 800 is a good number. So it had some impact. Yes. Oh, I don't know what to say about the paper. Should I say something about every paragraph or what?
It's your presentation, so you should decide that. But maybe you can go through and kind of summarize its main points.
Its main point. There's not really a main point like that. They first look on the different terms that are there, like playfulness, and there are a lot of very creative terms. And then
Surveillance entertainment. I thought that was a nice one.
That's not the best one.
So. Do you guys prefer any of those terms to gamification or serious games? So productivity games, surveillance entertainment, funware, playful design, behavioral games, game layer, applied gaming. Applied gaming is one you still will hear occasionally. As you'll hear playful design, funware I've not heard for a while. Surveillance entertainment,
Tell me what that is all about.
Does
Is it as if you play out in the street with a surveillance camera? Or?
I think it's more that, everything you do in the game is being logged and monitored and is being used to assess you. So it's surveillance entertainment because everything you touch, everything you do on Facebook. Your basic Facebook games are surveillance entertainment, would be, yeah. Could be, yeah. So, but do you guys like any of those ones?
Sorry?
Do you like any of those?
I don't know much of those.
I mean, just as a term, using those phrases.
As a term, I don't know much about those, most of them.
Yep. Okay. So.
Yes, they say the goal of the goals of gamification are mostly motivation, activity, and retention. So sounds kind of obvious too, but it's the introduction. I really didn't think enough about how to go through this.
yeah, I like the exploitation word.
Exploitationware. So that's in bogus exploitationware, which I think I pointed you guys at the link to his.
Yes. You did read that.
Yes.
And they also mentioned folded at some point. which is maybe not the best example for a game.
Well, as we discussed, one of the issues is who benefits from the game, right? And when we looked at games for health and games for education, the player benefits. But Fold It is a game for science, where science benefits, but maybe not the player. So, but yeah. Okay.
Anyway, let's just skip through most of the beginning. It's quite interesting, but it's not that important for the discussion of what is gamification.
Mm-hmm.
The really complicated part and the interesting part starts at 4.1 game, where they start explaining the differences between two principles that seem very famous in this and that they use a lot in their argumentation, which is Paideia and Ludus, which sound a little complicated.
And quite academic-y.
Yes. It sounds Latin, I guess, or something like that.
Which is why it gets referenced by academic.
Or at least it sounds Latin. They say that Paideia is more or less playing, which they say is a free and improvisational kind of playing activity, and it's not that handy that they use playing as a kind of playing activity. So they have playing as part of playing, which is very confusing. I had to read this several times to understand this part. They say at the other end of the line, on the one hand we have Paideia, which is free and improvisational, on the other hand we have Ludus, which is gaming, which is structured with rules and goals, and I think the words playing and gaming as two ends of a line are maybe not that good a choice. I've been really thinking hard. I cannot think of anywhere where I play without somehow playing a game. Even if I invent something new, it's a game.
Okay, so this becomes a discussion on how we use language, because partly using Paideia and Ludus is to get us away from playing games, right? Because play and games are both overloaded as English terms and have been used so much and have such a wide definition that it's hard to use them in academic discussion without having to kind of define them, and even then you've still got the baggage when people are reading your passages of all the other things that we've met. So you pick a new term that people don't use, and you then describe that as being a specific thing, so you can then use that term, right? And there's an interesting discussion on how kind of technologies evolve and use metaphors from previous technology and then supersede it, and some of that usage gets, like some of the connections to the previous things get lost, right? So and people get changed. So for example, cell phone. How many of you refer to your mobile as a cell phone, and how many of you refer to it as a mobile or smartphone, perhaps? Probably
only Americans refer to the cell phones, don't they?
I think only the Americans might still be holding on to cell phones. Do any of you refer to myself? I'll go get my cell phone, or do you say I'll get my mobile?
Mobile.
No, I say iPhone.
You named the brand.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
Yeah. Who says mobile? Who says mobile?
It is mobile.
I call it a phone because
I left my phone
my
behind.
only phone.
Yeah, I suppose it actually.
Eventually it's going to be
In
just a
fact,
phone.
that is, yeah.
That's the only phone.
That's the only phone. And I did find it interesting when you like, because you have telephone, television. One became telly, and the other became phone. They lost different.
You wouldn't talk about the vision.
You wouldn't talk about your vision.
Let's go have a look at the vision.
Yeah, let's go look at the vision. But we could have, right? It would have been possible, and we would just have reused that word and meant its usage. But you don't refer to cell phone, and cell phone actually comes back through a whole line of monks' cells in a monastery. That's where the word cell phone comes from. Through cells in biology, which, when they first looked at them, looked like monk cells in a monastery, and so that's why they're called cells. right? That's where that word comes from. So you get these kind of this word games of where words come from and what they mean and how they get meaning and how they change meaning. And play in games is a tricky one, right? Because play is used by so many people in so many ways. Now, as an engineer, if I say there's a bit of play in the steering wheel, what does that mean? Do you understand?
I know the term, yes.
You know the term. So
In
play
that way.
can refer to that give in a mechanical system, right? Where it doesn't kind of line up perfectly and isn't precise. So yeah, we have all of those issues of meaning, and so that's why to some extent you pick a Latin or Greek term and you try and go, okay, nobody uses.
They didn't really pick the words. They are more or less unused already. They refer to some ludification of culture more than once, and they didn't invent this. So the words have been there before.
Yeah, no, ludos and ludological and things I've seen, because they're actually Greek. Yeah, so they've not picked a random word and allocated it, which some people do. They've picked another language's word to try and get the English speakers out of their knowledge of what the words mean zone. Right? To try and strip it of some of the overloading that you get from the original word.
It's interesting though, the Norwegian philosopher Arnes, he referred to the human beings as homo ludens.
Yes.
The playful human being.
Yes, yes, man the player rather than Homo sapien, Homo ludens. So that's one of the earlier usages of ludos as in a modern context to refer to gaming. So yeah, but no, it is a challenge. The distinction between playing and gaming. Do you guys feel there is a difference between playing and gaming? You said there isn't. What do the other people think?
I think there is.
In the